From KUNC and the NPR network, this is In The NoCo. I'm Erin O'Toole. One of Northern Colorado's most well-known figures is headed to the Smithsonian. Grandin is a professor of animal sciences at Colorado State University. She's highly regarded as an advocate for people with autism and for the humane treatment of animals. And now her portrait will be on the wall of the Smithsonian's National Portrait Gallery in Washington, D.C. Grandin is being recognized as a 2025 Portrait of a Nation Award honoree, meant to recognize extraordinary individuals who have made transformative contributions to the U.S. By the way, you can see the portrait at our website, kunc.org. Grandin joined me to talk about this unusual honor and how it came about.
You know, it's sort of like the scientists that get the phone call from Sweden that they won the Nobel Prize. You know, sort of like that. I just couldn't believe it.
So they called you up on the phone and...
Well, first of all, yeah, they called me up on the phone, and then the artist came out and visited me. He actually visited me quite a long time ago, and I was told to keep completely quiet about it.
Yeah, it took several years for this to come together. I think in 2021, you first met with the artist who created the portrait, David Lenz, and you met a few times.
That's right.
What did he want to know? What kind of questions did he ask you about your life and your work that he would use to create the painting?
Well, mainly he was interested in getting me out next to a cornfield to get some pictures of me.
Okay.
And then we went out to our experiment station, our university experiment station, and got some pictures with some cattle in the background. But then he wanted something with just an ag background. So we drove out east of town and found a cornfield. And he took a whole bunch of pictures of me in front of it.
And the portrait is really unique. It shows you standing in a field. You are surrounded by cattle, and there's a kind of a glowing circle of light behind you. What was your response to the painting when you got to see it for the first time?
Well, I got to see it printed out on an email for the first time, and it was a nice color printer. And I went, wow, this is really beautiful.
In reading about the portrait artist, he said he was especially inspired by a very famous quote of yours, "The world needs all kinds of minds." Would you explain what that quote means to you? The world needs all kinds of minds.
Well, I'm an extreme visual thinker. I'm what's called an object visualizer. Everything I think about is a picture, kind of like little phone pictures. Now, another kind of thinker is the visual spatial mathematical thinker, pattern thinking. Mm-hmm. I think in pictures, mathematicians think in patterns, and there's actually research to back that up. And then there's word thinkers, and we need the different kinds of minds. I've worked in the meat industry for years, and let's say building one of these big plants. Mm-hmm. The object visualizers, who are terrible at algebra, they design and build and invent all the mechanical equipment, mechanical devices. And then the degreed engineer with the mathematics, they got to do the boilers and the refrigeration, make sure the roof doesn't collapse. Mm-hmm. These are the places where you need to have mathematics. My grandfather was the co-inventor of the autopilot for airplanes.
Really?
And he worked with an autistic guy that came up with a completely original idea for an autopilot. My grandfather goes, we can make it work. MIT-trained mathematical engineer, tinkered in the loft for quite a few years, made it work. But unfortunately, it was stolen.
Really?
And the stolen version was in every warplane during World War II. They needed a lawyer. That would be a verbal thinker. This is an example of needing all the different kinds of minds.
You are well known for your work in animal sciences, especially for designing more humane slaughterhouses. Where do you think you have had the most impact in animal welfare?
Well, I've done a lot of different things. I started out in Arizona. I just trying to improve handling, looking at what cattle were seeing. Mm-hmm. You have to have good facilities. And I designed a lot of them, and a lot of plants had them.
Yeah.
But that doesn't replace the management. The thing I did that probably did the most good was I developed a very simple scoring system for evaluating welfare in slaughterhouses. And then I taught McDonald's, Burger King, and Wendy's how to use it. That makes things change. I said, let's figure out how we make their existing equipment work. Lots of repairs. Lots and lots of repairs.
Okay.
Non-slip flooring. We had to do quite a bit of that. Mm-hmm. But out of 74 suppliers, only 3 had to buy expensive things. Everybody else we fixed with non-slip flooring repairs, training, supervision, and the removal of 3 plant managers.
Interesting.
Because management has got to get behind doing things right.
Absolutely.
Absolutely has to get behind it.
Yeah, that applies in every field. Dr. Grandin, you are also the subject of a recent documentary called An Open Door. In this new documentary, you say that you want to open doors for other people now, that's what you think you should be doing in this next chapter of your life. Would you talk about that a bit?
Well, I like doing a lot of talks to students, and I tell them to go out and try lots of different things. I didn't start out as a child in the cattle industry. I got exposed to it as a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
It's important for students to get exposed to things to find out what they might like to do. Also, they might find out, I hate this. I really don't want to do it. Try on careers, I think, is important. I want to see young people get out to good careers. And I want to see people that are autistic get into good careers. Because I worked with people that were autistic, they weren't diagnosed, that owned machine shops and had very successful businesses.
So opening doors means really exposing people to career options that perhaps they hadn't thought about. Coming back to the portrait, seeing a portrait at the Smithsonian can move someone to learn about history or the person who's in it, or it can simply inspire them. How do you hope people respond to your portrait when they see it?
Well, I hope these kids that think differently get out and get good jobs.
Yeah.
And for my kind of thinker, where we're really needed is a very high-end skilled trades, like an airplane mechanic, for example. And AI is not going to replace these jobs. I don't want AI working on the steering on my airplane. Thank you very much.
A very good point. So AI-proof jobs.
They are AI-proof jobs. Anything that's hands-on, nurses, that's not going to go away.
Yeah.
Those kind of jobs. You need teachers to work with kids, and especially little kids.
The award ceremony and the unveiling of the portraits happens later this month in Washington, D.C. I'm curious if you're going to be there and maybe actually finally see your portrait.
I am going to be there. I'm having to change my plane reservations to go in 2 days early because of the problems with the air traffic control right now.
Right. But you will be there. Excellent.
Yep, I plan to be there.
Well, Dr. Temple Grandin, it's always such a pleasure to talk with you. Thank you so much.
Okay, well, thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed being here.
Temple Grandin is a professor of animal sciences at CSU, an author, an advocate for people with autism, and now the recipient of the Portrait of a Nation Award from the Smithsonian Institution. Her portrait will be officially unveiled in a ceremony this Saturday. By the way, her fellow honorees include business leader Jamie Dimon, U.S. Poet Laureate Joy Harjo, and filmmaker Steven Spielberg. If you can't make it to Washington, D.C., you can see an image of the portrait on our website. We'll have links in the show notes and at KUNC.org. That's it today for In The NoCo. I'm Erin O'Toole. Thanks so much for listening.